Hey, Timothy Hilliard here. Thanks for checking out the third and final video in the Professional Trader video tutorial series. So when we ended the last video, we did so talking about this vicious intervention that has been a catalyst for the most profitable traders in the market. And that's what we're here for today. I've created an exercise and a worksheet to help guide you through that process. But before we get to that, I need to make sure that you understand and have a full picture of what separates the professional from the amateur. You know, what is the difference between the guy who has his dreams fulfilled and the guy who gets sucker punched in the gut on his way to financial ruin? Now, I've mentioned it before, but the key difference is that professionals don't rely on a trading plan. They operate a business plan. They operate their trading like a business instead of a hobby. And when they're trading, they act like the CEO of a professional company, not like some goofball hoping to hit 777s on the slot machine, or a guy down at the convenience store spending his rent money on lotto tickets, okay? So here's what a simple but effective business plan looks like. Let's pretend that you're going into business as a street vendor selling hot dogs on a busy street corner downtown. You've rented the hot dog cart and filled it up with dogs, and you're ready to go. On your first day, you sell a bunch of hot dogs, and when you count up the money, you've sold $280 worth of hot dogs. 280 bucks, right? Not bad for a day of selling, you know. You're just selling ground up meat and bread, so not too bad. So you're in business, right? You just made $280. Now, of course, you had to pay for the hot dogs and the buns. And there's costs involved with the ketchup and the mustard and the napkins and the paper plates and the gas burner that heats the cart and the bill to rent the cart. So now that $280 isn't actually $280 anymore, right? So maybe it's $200, or maybe it's $100. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe at $280 a day, you're actually $100 in the hole. Okay, how would you know? Also, how did you decide what to charge for the hot dogs? And do you charge different prices for different types of meat? Do you give discounts for people buying more than one hot dog? And what if everyone suddenly starts buying one type of dog and you run out of that one completely and you only have the other kind that nobody wants? Well, if you were serious about carving out a career and making good money selling hot dogs, you'd put on your businessman's hat and start getting the answers to those questions, right? As a smart businessman, you'd know what it costs to sell each hot dog, including all the things that we just talked about. And you'd take that information and set your prices with a margin that allowed you to be profitable. Also, over time, you'd pay close attention and figure out how much of each different type of dog you need. And you'd watch carefully and prepare in advance for winter because, you know, there are fewer people on the street, and so you're going to sell fewer dogs. Okay, so why in the world are we talking about hot dogs? Well, there's actually two very important reasons here. First, I specifically chose a hot dog vendor because a professional trader's business plan is no more complicated and requires no more skill or IQ than a guy making a living hawking sausage on a street corner. And yes, I can I can hear some of you snickering under your breath at me. Yeah, right, Tim. You're so full of it. But here's the ironic part that nobody wants to admit and no other guru I've ever run into will come out and say. But it truly explains why so many people rush into the market and then wash out within the first couple of years of trading. So here it is. The second key thing to understand is that when I sit down with a trader and force them to review in detail and write out on a sheet of paper the specific plan and the specific preparation that they put into their trading, close to 80% of the time, it's less than that of the aforementioned street vendor. Sure, they may have read over 200 books on trading and they've suffered through countless webinars and seminars, and they do their market research every night and every morning, and many have invested thousands and thousands of dollars in various educational programs. And I'm asking you to believe that they're putting in less planning than a street vendor? Absolutely. No hesitation whatsoever. That's exactly what I'm telling you. And working one-on-one with literally thousands of traders over the last 15 years has proven, without a doubt, that it's the truth. Here's why it happens, and the only way to get around it. The first reason is that as children, the first and most valued principle we are taught at home and at church and at school is how to share, how to compromise, how to value others' contributions, and to work together and succeed as a team. We're also trained from birth to seek the approval from the group around us. For most of us, the primary source from which we draw our happiness is what other people think about us. But if you take this approach in trading, you are guaranteeing your own financial ruin. And here's why. Every professional trader knows that the social aspect of trading for a living is a lonely undertaking at best. It's lonely because it requires us to stand up and take responsibility for every decision, for every outcome. It also requires that we immediately and forcefully reject anybody that tries to make themselves feel better by getting us to participate in their blame games and in their pity parties. And once you begin living your life that way, you will lose friends. You will be forced to stop hanging around the water cooler on your break because the other people there will not want to talk to you. They're there to gossip, to blame others for their problems, and to publicly excuse themselves from any responsibility surrounding their performance. You know, people watch the television show The Office, not because of how ridiculous it is, but rather because of how absurdly accurate it is to the daily experience they have at work. So if you're going to bring a CEO mentality to your trading, you have to be willing to disconnect from the crowd. The second reason is that in our professional lives, we're used to relying on our coworkers and other people around us to tell us when we're acting stupid, right? This works because our coworkers usually have an acceptable level of proficiency at their jobs. Very few are exceptional, but most everybody knows how to keep from getting fired. The problem with doing this in the world of trading is that 9 out of 10 traders that you will ever interact with don't even have a basic level of trading competence. They're running around making stupid decisions every day, and thus are completely unqualified to keep you in check. Top professionals in every aspect of life, right? Trading, business, professional sports, music, you name it, realize that taking career advice from friends is a recipe for disaster. But one thing you'll notice is that they do have coaches and mentors. Tiger Woods has a golf coach, or at least he did until Hank Haney decided that he just had enough. Celine Dion has a vocal coach. And even in his prime, Michael Jordan had a strength and conditioning coach. So where do top professionals go to find a qualified mentor or coach? You know, the Yellow Pages? Google? Do they ask their completely broke buddy to hook them up with the financial planner that he uses? No. They work with guys who don't need to advertise. Coaches who hand select and invite people to work with them, not browbeat their existing clients for referrals. This is how all of my mentorship and mastermind groups operate. Everyone who purchases a product from me receives a personalized consultation 3 weeks later to make sure that the product suits them, that they understand how to use it, and to give them a chance to get their questions answered. Now, if the person demonstrates during the consultation that they're committed and serious about their trading, and if they meet the membership requirements for the group, then they're invited to interview for membership, during which I can determine if it's a good fit or not. Now, sure, some people think that I'm a pompous jerk for running my groups this way. But wouldn't it be important to you, if you were in the group, that only like-minded traders be invited to join? The point of joining the mentorship and mastermind programs is to separate the simple and profound success principles from the rest of the static and noise of information that the market spews out every day. So we now understand why most traders fail. But what are we supposed to do about it? Well, here's how to get off of the roller coaster ride. Remember back to the email that I sent you yesterday. In it, I talks about the only 3 edges that traders can use to make money while everybody around you goes broke. 1, be right more often than you're wrong. 2, make more when you're right than you lose when you're wrong. And 3 is just to bet more when you're right and less when you're wrong. I also told you that amateur traders focus 90% of their attention on the weakest and most unreliable of these 3, while paying nothing but lip service to the 2 edges that professional traders use day in and day out to funnel your trading capital into their accounts. Do you know which one of the 3 amateurs spend most of their time on? Of course you do. It's the same thing you're probably spending your time on, trying to become familiar enough with some hot new trading setup that allows you to be right on 8 out of 10 trades. Well, here's where the simplicity of a professional trader's business plan really comes into view. The irony of so many traders focusing solely on predicting price movement is that you only have to be proficient with trade execution and money management to have the huge competitive advantage that we're looking for. In business, the difference between the number 1 player in a given industry and the number 2 player in that same industry is most often enormous. So enormous, in fact, that as long as the big fish stays sharp, they can literally lock out their competitors from gaining market share. They can do this because they have economic advantages that completely slant the playing field in their favor. Likewise, in the business of trading, a trader who builds up his stock picking skills at the expense of being able to execute and properly manage his money is dead in the water. Do you remember the scene from the first Indiana Jones movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark, where Harrison Ford gets ambushed by this thrilling ninja-like sword master? Okay? The swordsman goes through this long and flashy display, whirling his swords in every possible direction. And then, once he's done, Dr. Jones pulls out his beat-up old 6-shooter and shoots the guy in the chest. Right? Simple is effective. Flashy is just flash. Traders who rely on their ninja stock picking abilities, their multi-screen market forecast models and 72-point backtesting algorithms, are just asking to get shot dead by the guy with the gun. In this video series, I've shared with you a truckload of the principles upon which success in trading is based. But I've saved the very best for last. This is the most direct and actionable way to put down the flashy sword and pick up that old beat to hell, but still very, very deadly 6-shooter. You've got to get in touch with the most fundamental characteristic of the market, which is it can do anything it wants at any time that it wants. In this way, the market is a lot like the ocean, this vast, uncontrollable, moving thing. And oftentimes we feel like a swimmer alone out on the ocean, with the ocean just beating and bruising us constantly. And after enough of that beating and bruising, it's very easy to take what's going on as being very personal. It's very easy to think that the ocean is just trying to beat the snot out of us. The fact of the matter is, the ocean is so big that it doesn't even know that we're there. And the market is very much the same way. It doesn't matter how many indicators come together, or how many planets align, or how many Elliott waves you count. The market is going to do what the market's going to do. And in any given trade, absolutely anything can happen. To get this principle to sink in, you have to understand what price movement really is. The price action on a given instrument is nothing more than a barometer of what the collection of individual traders feel about the price. Whether the collective feels like the price is too high or whether the collective feels like the price is too low. But you know what? Even if you had a way of collecting and understanding the reasons behind why traders believe that something is high or something is low, they're totally irrelevant anyway. The reasons don't matter. We've been speaking at length about how irrational, unorganized, and random traders are as a whole. So understanding their reasons for support or resistance just don't mean much in the present, and they're completely worthless in forecasting what's going to happen in the future. It's also important to remember that if you're just watching price movement, which most amateur traders are, that the price action of a given security is only limited by what the most extreme trader feels is high or low. If there's a cold, hard truth to the business of trading, that is it. Only the best traders embrace it, and only the best traders buy cars and boats and go on trips with money that they pulled out of the market. Nothing that anyone can do about that. So how do you know if your belief in uncertainty is absolutely unquestioned? Well, here's the litmus test. If you set a stop and then you get upset when you get stopped out, you're just not quite there yet. You know, most amateurs will set stops because they think it's the responsible thing to do. And it is better to set stops than to not. But if you then get upset when the stop hits, then you're still seeing it on amateur night, right? So in the most straightforward language I can summon, if you think that you know, or you believe that you need to know the outcome of any given trade, that is directly proportional to your chances of going broke trading. The second key here is to replace the thrill of being right about a trade with the thrill of achieving your financial and personal dreams. Don't waste your time and energy celebrating a prediction, okay? Go celebrate a night out on the town at your favorite restaurant with the people who mean the most to you. But this is an area where I get major pushback from traders. So we need to address it fully. If I ask a trader directly whether they believed price movement in the market was a game of probabilities or absolutes, every single one would answer probabilities because that's the stock answer. But answer this for me then. If a trader truly believed that anything could happen on any given trade, then why would he talk himself into placing a trade without a specific entry point, profit target, and stop loss? Obviously, he wouldn't. But not timing entries, not setting stops, and not taking profits at price targets are the three cardinal sins of amateur traders. So why doesn't an amateur trader time his entry, set his stop, and take his profits where he's supposed to? In short, because deep down, he doesn't believe he needs to. Here's what's going on in the head of an amateur as they consider a trade. Okay? He wants to be right because he's desperate to make money. But he can't make money sitting on the sideline, so he's got to place a trade. But he's so afraid of losing money that he'll only enter the trade if he is 100% confident that it's going to be a winner. So he looks at his charts, and he finds whatever he needs to find, whatever he needs to read in the tea leaves, and he talks himself absolutely into believing that this one is a sure thing. This one has got to go up or got to go down. On the other hand, if he does take time to carefully select his entry, set his stop, and predetermine where he's going to take his profit, those are all signs that he doesn't really believe this thing's a winner. If it's a guaranteed winner, why do any of that? Just jump in and hang on for the ride. To approach the trade like a professional, he's got to face head on the idea that he really doesn't know what's going to happen. And without that false sense of security, he can't bring himself to enter the trade. But remember, it's cyclical thinking here. He's desperate to make money, so he's got to enter the trade. In the end, the only way out is to ignore the risk and hope he's right. Now, obviously, this is a horrible place to be, and it's why people exit the trading profession beaten, battered, and scarred. It's also why you see so much emphasis on learning new technical analysis techniques, right? Most amateur traders are completely obsessed with learning new techniques for forecasting the future. They crave that false sense of security that it gives them. In one of the most profound teachings I've seen anywhere, Mark Douglas explained that amateur traders are desperately trying to create certainty where it just doesn't exist. Okay? He writes in his book, Trading in the Zone, the irony is that if he, meaning the trader, completely accepted the fact that certainty doesn't exist in picking stocks, he would create the certainty he craves in his overall trading system. When you achieve complete acceptance of the uncertainty of each edge and the uniqueness of each moment, your frustration with trading will end. So let's focus now on this vicious intervention I told you was the astonishing cult secret directly responsible for the success of 87% of history's most profitable traders. The intervention centers around 4 simple but profound questions that make up what I call the influential conversation. It's a conversation that I have with every single trader that comes to me for assistance. And now I'm going to have it with you. Again, the conversation is made up of 4 questions. The first 2 you've already answered in the first exercise and worksheet. So the downloadable exercise that I've included for this video is designed to help you to finish the conversation by answering the real money questions. The first question in the influential conversation is, what do you want? Plain and simple. What is the gut level reason that you are trading, and how are you going to know when you've accomplished it? The second question is, why do you want what you want? What is going to be different about your life when you get what you want versus the way your life is right now? What will that mean to you? What experiences will be available to you? And now the money questions. And be warned, giving honest and actionable answers to these questions can be uncomfortable, but it's 100% necessary if you're going to get to where you want to be. So question number 3, why don't you have what you want right now? I want you to take 10 minutes right now and think about that. Then write down your answers on the worksheet. Be honest and don't let your mind default to blaming others or creating excuses. Straight up, what's stopping you? If after 10 minutes you can't find the right answers, put the worksheet down and come back in a few hours. If you're not 100% sure of your answers, then write down your most revealing and honest thoughts. Now, I'll be holding a webinar next week where we'll go through examples of real answers that people share, and that'll be an opportunity for you to get clarity. Finally, the 4th question. What are you going to do to get what you want? Again, this couldn't be simpler, and it also couldn't be more powerful. You know now what you want. You know why you want it. And you just got the deepest level of clarity that you have ever had on what's stopping you from getting it. So tell me right now what you're going to do about it. What you're going to change to get what you want starting today. Same things apply here I mentioned for question number 3. Take the time you need to give honest and clear answers. If you're on 100% sure of the answers, write down your best thoughts and we'll get clarity together next week. So download the worksheet if you haven't already. Go through the exercise. Be gentle with yourself, okay? But also be honest and find a level of clarity that you've not experienced before. And get ready, because I'm going to show you exactly how to take this influential conversation and make sure it sticks. Make sure that it creates lasting changes in the way you trade and that it leads to bigger and more consistent profits being put into your account. So stay tuned, and I'll see you again soon.